Good afternoon and welcome to the Hibs Observer Monday briefing with myself, Liam Bryce, joined again by Craig Nisbet to I've got a bit of an apology to make at the top of the show, to be honest. Yesterday, when we did our instant post-match reaction, I was talking up the big tactical analysis that we were going to do of yesterday's game, but obviously it slipped my mind that obviously the resources that we use to do our tactical analysis of these games, namely Y-Scout and StatsBomb, do not cover Scottish Cup games, so we've been left statless over the past 24 hours and with no way of bringing you the sort of tactical, what I'm talking about, the visual elements that we can annotate, that we can put various graphics and stuff on. That was not available to us over the past 24 hours. So instead of doing a half-baked version of our normal tactical fare, we decided to try and move things on a bit, and we'll look at just where the season goes now for Hibs. 4 games obviously left until the split. So again, apologise, that one's on me. So, I mean, we'll be back. It'll be normal service resumed, hopefully, next week when Hibs go to Kilmarnock. But just before we get started with this slightly altered schedule, just a word for our new sponsor, because the Hibs Observer is now brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. So start your search today. So, Craig, thanks for joining us again. Well, 24 hours on from Sunday's game at Celtic Park. Have your feelings changed on it at all? Is there anything else that's been on your mind from that 90 minutes?
No, it's funny. I still think it's like not a feeling of disappointment, I suppose, but maybe it is disappointment just to show how far the team's gone. I sort of felt like just because offensively we were so blunt, we just really struggled. It sort of felt like a bit of an opportunity missed, and then I started to think back about Kieran Bowie's chance, and if that had gone in, I mean, probably would have been question marks whether it would have stood or not from Campbell took the quick throw in. But, I started to think about that and it just made me, I just consider what might have been in that game. And the fact that we held on for so long at 1-0. And as I said, he made those changes, bringing Ellie Ewan on. It's great to see him back, which I don't think we really spoke much about yesterday. And, putting Hoylett on the left-hand side and sort of going back to a 4. It's the first time we've played a back 4 in a while. And I thought that was a really bold move from David Gray, and actually did open the game up a bit for us. And we started to create a little bit in that final third. And obviously we got that late sucker punch at the end of the game. So, yeah, it's just quite a weird feeling, because normally if you get beat off Celtic, you sort of can kind of accept it. But I just sort of felt yesterday we maybe didn't actually put on the best showing of ourselves that we have done in recent matches.
Yeah, aye. I think there was no questioning the commitment or the effort, but there was just, I think it was a lack of quality that did for Hibs in the end. And I know how Celtic played has a lot to do with that as well, because if they turn up and they're on it, then 9 times out of 10 they're going to beat pretty much every other team in Scotland. And it's like we talked about yesterday about what they try and do, particularly in the wide areas, and it's very much a case of with Celtic, it's one thing knowing what to expect, and it's another actually trying to stop it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I suppose with the folk who listen to us and watch us most weeks know, if you go back and look at the couple of videos we did against Celtic, away from home and even at home as well, everybody knows how they play. Stopping them is a really tough task. And I think we mentioned yesterday that they're going to go wide. That's going to be something they do. You can't really stop them going wide. All you can do is, to a certain extent, force them inside and just make it difficult to get shots and crosses away and just make the chances really difficult. But they've obviously got that quality in the final third to punish it. And I kind of thought back to the game at Easter Road when we had a bit of success against them. And obviously Adam Ida started that game through the middle and was like exceptionally poor. And then now that they've brought Maeda central, He's just become a bit of a different animal again, with his running and what he can do in terms of pressing and things like that. So I think that also played a part as well.
Yeah, aye. As you say, it's follows a kind of similar pattern every time you play Celtic, and to the extent at least, that they always try and do the sort of same things to you. Obviously, Hibs have had varied success in trying to combat that this season.
I was
And
going to say
it's
as well, just that, because if you actually look defensively, the guys, I mean, I think Obita, for the first goal, and he had a like a poor clearance that in the build up to the second goal, and I think we acknowledged that it was tough for him coming into a game like that. But I thought Iredale, I thought Rocky, I thought Miller in that right centre back role, like I thought they were outstanding. I think they defended unbelievably well. Jordan Smith made a number of very, very good saves, like a save from Maeda at the end when he sort of stayed on his feet and dived and parried it away just as Maeda went to shoot. Like, it was a fantastic save. So, everybody had those solid games.
yeah,
But just when you have one player making a couple of mistakes and a few of our attacking players not quite at the races, it's too difficult to beat a team like that.
yeah, I think so. I think if you'd seen yesterday's show, folks, would be kind of said that a lot of the foundational elements were there for what you have to try and do at Celtic Park. Be defensively resolute. Your goalie has to have a good game, but then once you get those kind of building blocks in place, it's about what can you do on top of that. And Hibs never really got going in any meaningful sense in the final third. I know we talked about the changes of shape, maybe throwing caution to the wind a wee bit, which Hibs did. And they had to do it because then the game opens up a wee bit at the end. Celtic got a second. They probably, they could have had a third. And then I think, but I'm kind of glad, that would have been harsh. See if it goes to 3-0, 4-0. It's not really a reflection, I don't think, on how the game, panned out. I know, Celtic fans might come and say, well, we had X amount of possession, made X amount of shots compared to Hibs, but Celtic are going to dominate. They should be dominating games at home, such as the kind of the difference in the squads. But let's not dwell too much on that. If you want to catch the kind of reaction to yesterday's game, folks, we did get it in at least some detail on the ins and outs of it. But what we're going to do for the next few while is just look at the final, this final run in towards the split, and I think before we even, really, get into the sort of the detail of it, it's, if I'd kind of told you here in, the dark depths of November, Craig, that we'd be sitting in early March, talking about Hibs sitting in third and almost kind of starting to look at, well, who would you rather have join you in the top six as opposed to, whether Hibs are going to make it. I know it's not, I don't want to tempt fate here. I know it's not signed and sealed yet, but, Hibs are in a very strong position to make the top six. And you'd have probably thought I had completely lost it if I told you that.
I mean, to be fair, those were dark days. The rewatches and stuff going through those games, it was really difficult and quite painful at times. So, yeah, I mean, the turnaround just unbelievable, and I think that we spoke about the Celtic game maybe being a bridge too far, but just the support that Hibs took through that day, and the appreciation the players and the coaching staff got at the end of the game, it just shows you how far they've come in such a short space of time as well. And without, pushing the panic button too much in January and signing loads and loads of players, we've kept faith with that squad, and it's sort of paying dividends now towards where we are. So it's an amazing position to be in. But when you dive into the table a little bit more, and the fact that we came from the bottom of the league into third, you know that it's definitely one of those seasons that isn't over until it's over, because even when we've had a wee look at some of the fixtures about the teams around us, everybody's playing everybody at some point, and that sort of gap from third down to about 8th or 9th is just so tight, and I think things will change week to week until that final game.
Yeah, aye, it's certainly, as I said, Hibs are in a strong position, but I think they are. Hibs are the embodiment of how quickly things can change in this league, and it's. I mean, I feel like we say this every year, but it's like, it's that middle section of the table is so crowded. I'd maybe, if I get a bit of time, go back and look at how it sat about this time last year compared to now, but I'd be surprised if it was any closer. then what we're looking at here, you've got Hibs sitting in third, 43 points, Aberdeen in fourth on 42, Dundee United in fifth on 41, Motherwell making up the top six on 37, Hearts in seventh place on 36, Ross County, who have had a wee bit of a revival, are now they're sort of looking upwards as opposed to down there, in eighth place on 35. And I suppose, even down to ninth, like you say, St Mirren on 34. Beyond that, you've got Kilmarnock on 31. That take an incredible effort from them, and a collapse from quite a few other teams for them to come all the way up from 10th. But I mean, I suppose, St Mirren wouldn't be counting themselves out. County will probably think, we've got a shot at this. Hearts and Motherwell, who I'm pretty sure you said the top of the show will play each other. Is that the final game before the split? Were you saying? I think
from Motherwell. Yeah, Hearts are away to Motherwell. Yeah.
So I mean, if it's as tight as it is, going into that last day, that's probably that could be a good thing for Hibs if somebody's if one of them are going to do each other out of a place in the top six. But if you're going into the final pre-split game, Hibs, I think, on current form and currently where they're sitting on the table, you kind of hope to have it, I think, wrapped up by then. We'll just take a look at the next 4 games for Hibs before the split comes around. We've obviously got Kilmarnock away this weekend, which is always tricky. And then after that, it's St Johnstone at home, away to Rangers, and then finishing at home to Dundee. So, I mean, what are you... If I had to press you for a potential points total from these 4 games, what would you be happy with?
I think, at the start of the other week, I would have taken a lot less than we ended up getting. So,
yeah.
I think, after the defeat at the weekend there, away to Kilmarnock, tricky game. The last time, I'm sure that's when Joe Newell scored the sort of cross shot, and then we gave away a
stoppage time, I think.
92nd minute. But that was a game that we were, fairly comfortable in for it not being maybe a memorable one, and obviously we beat them at Easter Road recently. So I'd like to think we could go to Kilmarnock and get a result. Where they are in the table and the form that we've been in, I'd like to think that we'd be pushing for that. But it's just somewhere you normally go, if we can get a point, I'll take a point from there.
I think that is maybe the ultimate take a point venue, Rugby Park, isn't it? Yeah.
I think so. And obviously with Kieran Bowie as well, I'm not, I know he actually looked quite disappointed to be subbed off against Celtic. I'm not sure really with his, what it's like for him playing on that kind of surface. I don't know if it's something he's comfortable doing. Hopefully he's back fit enough where that's not going to be an issue, and that's why Gray took him off to sort of go, right, well, we're going to rest just to play at the weekend. So I think with that game, I would probably take a point, but obviously then it leads into St Johnstone at home, and I think that's one that we really should be aiming for 3 points in. Did it earlier on in the season, kind of one of our only bright sparks and moments at that point in the season, and I'd like to think that's one they'd be really pushing for, especially then going into to play Rangers away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think St Johnstone at home, that was David Gray's first win in the league, I'm pretty sure. Feels like an awful long time ago now. But then you're kind of right. It's like, I know this is I might be straight into cliche territory a wee bit here, but if you've got kind of designs on finishing third, you can't not be beating the team that's bottom of the league when you're playing them on your own patch. Really, it's kind of, is it as simple as that?
I think so, and it's the sort of we've spoke a lot before about like, not where does the team go from here in a big dramatic way, but they're on this run. They've lost against Celtic. There's going to need to be a reaction. There's going to need to be, and actually, I suppose during that run as well, some people could say there's been games that we've not particularly played great football in, and we've still got results. So what's the evolution for this team? And I think the big thing for me and becoming a sort of more regular top six side is, games like St Johnstone at home, they're not gimmies, they're not guaranteed wins, but they should be the games we're going out and dominating the ball, creating chances, scoring goals. It shouldn't feel like a slog or huff and puff or, clenching your bum because you're concerned about the result towards the end. And that's where we need to go. And I suppose like the big thing I think for the team also is not having Nicky Cadden for these 4 games. I would imagine, even if it isn't as bad as we all feared, I can't really see him returning.
There's still no good hamstring injury, really, is there?
No, and the fact that
takes a bit of time.
And if you look at how we've managed Bowie and how we've managed people back, even Newell, Johan and stuff, it looks like we're being quite pragmatic and building players back up so that they can then deal with things. So I can't imagine he's going to get thrown in straight away. So it'll be interesting to see how we adapt without him for those potentially four games at least, maybe more. And I think that's something that, you know, it's quite an exciting challenge for the other players to step forward, because Nicky Cadden has stepped up a lot and delivered crucial balls and big moments and things like that, and now gives those players an opportunity to push for those last 4 games, and even for the coaching staff on the training pitch as well, knowing they've not got Nicky Cadden's delivery to adapt, and you know, it just might give us a different way and a different method of playing to sort of keep the team evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose you've got to try and look at it as an opportunity then for somebody else to step in, or for to, as you say, the team to kind of evolve. Because I think obviously naturally most people's reaction is, you know, a kind of trepidation, because I don't think it's not controversial to say that I think Nicky Cadden is one of the main reasons why this, you know, this 3 at the back shape that Hibs have done so well with, he's one of the main reasons why it's worked, really, isn't it? I know it's, you know, there's 10 other guys on the pitch, but you know, he has played such a crucial role in it.
I think so. I think just the fact that, as maybe said yesterday, you know, didn't realise just how good a defender he is. You know, I think he, it's always been the attacking side of things, but when you watch him closely defensively, he reads the game really well. He makes well-timed tackles, and obviously if he gets the ball back, he's got the technique and the ability to play really good forward passes in behind, and that's what we've got Boyle playing up there for, and Campbell and runners, so that we can then go and stretch teams and attack them in behind. So, you know, we said yesterday, Obita is a good replacement to come in. He doesn't have Nicky Cadden's delivery. He does, I think, he's got the legs and things like that to do the defensive stuff. But then, yeah, it puts a bit more pressure on some of the other players. And it might even, I was thinking yesterday or maybe last night about the team selection, and thinking, well, without Nicky Cadden and that sort of creativity down that side, and Nona Beta comes in, does it reshuffle some of the players centrally? Do we maybe see Dylan Levitt come in for Mariah Welsh, because now we know we need somebody else to get us ticking in that part of the pitch? Does it mean that Josh Campbell drops out for Hoylett to come back in, so we've got a bit more creativity down that side? Like, I'm actually quite intrigued to see what the team will be like at the weekend, and what it'll look like going forward without Nicky Cadden.
Yeah, I mean, if the last game away at Rugby Park is any sort of marker, I think it was like as if, I think that day that David Gray went with. I think it was a kind of more a kind of flat midfield three almost of, I think it was Joe Newell, Nectar Triantis and Kwon, because Triantis had that he had just come back. I think it might even been the previous day that he'd signed, and he was, and he was straight back into the team. So I felt like there was the feeling I got from Hibs that day is they were sort of set up to try and to compete. And, again, straight into cliche Teddy, but set up to try and win the battle first of all, and then, as people say that, you earn the right to play, and then you can go and build on that. So I mean, it can get like that at Rugby Park. It can get a bit attritional, and David Gray, as we've seen time and time again, he's willing to adapt. He's not wedded to any one approach or any one sort of team selection. So I suppose there's maybe scope for something similar. Again, I know it's different now. Things have changed. Things have moved on quite a bit, because obviously Joe Newell's out injured. You've got to feel Kwon is kind of fallen out of favour a bit. And you'd think if there's anybody that's going to come back into the midfield, it would be Dylan Levitt. But it's can be a tricky one to balance, I suppose, going to Rugby Park.
Yeah, I was actually just checking to see like what some of the stats were, and obviously this is from FootMob and not Stats Bomb, but it had Kilmarnock coming expected goals of 2.54. So obviously they had the penalty, which is 0.79 in that as well.
Yeah.
But So that's quite interesting. But yeah, I think that was still the stage of us being sort of like that 4-4-3-3, 4-5-1 type of shape with Milotnikov and Boyle on the wings and Kurevich maybe through the middle that day.
Yeah, he was.
I think it was. So yeah, I think it's interesting now, going into that, because I think obviously because of the run, there was consistency, keep the same team, manage Bowie's minutes. That was pretty much because we had no Newell and no Yuan. There was no, it was quite simple subs to follow, in terms of how the game was going. But Yuan's come back in as well, which gives us another dynamic. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what he does going into that game, and if he does make those changes, or if he does stick with the guys that have got us this far. And that's not, I picked out Mariah Welsh and Campbell there. It's not any slight on their performances. It's just if we are, if you can imagine Levitt in the middle being able to switch the play quicker, and that helps somebody like Obita, who can have a bit more time on the ball to get his deliveries in, where Nicky Cadden doesn't need that much time. He can get out and almost be facing away from where he's trying to put in. He can just whip the ball round. Yeah. And so if we are going to rely on Chris Cadden at that side, or Lewis Miller potentially coming in, going into wing back, I think it's important we've got somebody in the middle that moves the ball. And I think it's just a point on Triantis as well. He has found it difficult the last couple of games. Better second half against Hearts and a better second half against Celtic. But, I think we do need a bit creativity in there as well. Teams know what we're going to do. We know that we're going to try and get it wide. So we do need a couple of players in the middle to try and get on the ball, just to try and break up opposition presses and just kind of mix things up a little bit. So maybe with no Nicky Cadden, as we said, it might force David Gray into changing things up.
Yeah, aye. And just to kind of round things off today, there's a trip to Ibrox coming up in this run of 4 games. I know we are looking a wee bit ahead of ourselves at the moment, but it's just to kind of get an overall picture of what's going to come up before the split. We are breaking the golden 1 game at a time rule here, but it's an interesting finish to the split, because there's two away games, 2 home. The 2 home games, you'd think Hibs are really, they'd really be looking to take maximum points when you're playing St Johnstone, Dundee, the 2 teams that are currently propping up the table. Kilmarnock, as we've just discussed, probably the kind of venue that you'd fancy your chance of winning, but would probably take a point if it came down to it. And then going to Ibrox, Rangers obviously not had their troubles to seek this season. Philip Clement been gone. Barry Ferguson's come in to sort of, as they say, steady the ship at Ibrox. But they're a kind of a really unpredictable team, Rangers, and that they've lost to Motherwell at Ibrox. Was it last weekend? And then they go and beat Fenerbahce in the Europa League a couple of days later. And I probably, that's maybe down to what they are a team that they play against kind of teams that sit in against them domestically, and they're not suited to that. But they get a bit more, they can play a bit more on the counter in Europe, and that probably goes some way to explaining that. But they are a kind of very Jekyll and Hyde side, Rangers, just in terms of the results. But Hibs kind of, looking at going to Ibrox in there maybe in a couple of weeks and causing an upset, because I can't be, it's kind of occurred to me, and as we were going through this year, there can't be many Hibs managers in recent times who would, if David Gray was to go to Ibrox and win, Hibs managers who have beaten Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Aberdeen all in the same season. There can't have been too many of them.
No, and I think they've got they've got Fenerbahce again. They've obviously got the Old Firm derby, and then there's the international break. I think they played Dundee away, and then us. So there's a lot of football to be played within that. I certainly think playing them at Ibrox helps, because I think we are a team that can go and sit, and we can let them have the ball and look to hit on the counter attack and frustrate the home crowd, those different types of things. So I do think it suits us. I was just pulling up the stats from, obviously we played them away, and Tom Lawrence scored a brilliant goal. We missed a penalty and a host of other chances in that day. I know you factor the penalty in, but they had 18 shots, we had 18 shots. They had 4 on target, we had 3 on target. We actually had a higher XG than them when you factor in the penalty. So I certainly think we're maybe built potentially to go and go and deal with that kind of threat away from home. And if you get a good result against Kilmarnock and a positive home result against St Johnstone, I could imagine us going into that game. Potentially, it could be a win that secures third place, or it could be a win that that gives you that cushion going into the final game of the pre-split. So I think it's a great incentive to work for. I'm quite glad we've got another big game, in that sort of third and fourth fixture, because it just gives the team something to aim for and another result to chase. And I know David Gray won't be bothered about those type of statistics, but you're right, like beating Rangers and things like that to add to what he's done, it's a good thing to chase.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what it's kind of all about over these next 4 games is trying to obviously cement that place in the top 6 and then accumulate as many points as possible for when you go in there. Because, if, for example, it's all big games after that. And if you can obviously the main objective is for Hibs to secure their place in there. But if you can go in there with a wee bit of a cushion, it does help, especially I think because after the split, if Hibs get there into the top 6, they probably have to go to Celtic Park again. You've got to factor in kind of stuff like that. But again, that is all a fair bit down the line at the moment. But I mean, it was kind of just, I think, worth taking this clutch of games in its entirety and seeing what Hibs could potentially get from it. Obviously, we'll look at them all individually as they come. But I think for now, we'll leave it there. Again, folks, I do apologise for not bringing you the tactical analysis show if you did miss us at the start. We don't have access to the Scottish Cup data on our resources, which are StatsBomb and Y-Scout. So we just decided to take a wee look ahead instead. Again, apologies for that. That's my fault. We'll be back to normal next week after the Kilmarnock game. Thanks to Craig for joining us. If you're watching us and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It means you'll get notified every time we go live, so you won't miss a show. Have a nice evening, folks. We'll speak to you later on in the week as we build into Kilmarnock versus Hibs. But until then, take care and we'll speak to you soon. Cheers.